Early in the morning, my front door shook violently. My daughter-in-law screamed my name as if the house belonged to her. I had changed every lock the night before. A few minutes later, my son arrived holding a sledgehammer. He yelled, "I'm coming in, whether you let me or not." Just as his arm lifted to strike, a voice came from behind me. "Let me handle it." The door swung open, and what they saw drained the color from their faces. The pounding echoed like war drums. Each blow rattled not only the wood but my own chest. Tatiana, my daughter-in-law, shrieked in that sharp, grating voice I had grown too used to hearing. "Nicole, open this damn door! Who do you think you are? This house is ours!" I stood barefoot on the cold floor, heart thudding so hard I could feel the pulse hammering in my temples. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the anger that had been festering for 3 long months, an anger that had cooled into something sharp and cold. I glanced at the antique wall clock my late husband, Ernest, had bought more than 30 years ago, 6:07. Attorney Arthur Bernard would arrive in 20 minutes. I only needed to hold on a little longer. "Mom," my son Rodrigo called out. "I know you're in there. Open the door." Another crash rang out, metal against wood, then his voice grew harsher. "I'm coming in, door or no door." I peered through the peephole. Rodrigo gripped a construction sledgehammer, eyes bloodshot. Beside him, Tatiana stood with her arms crossed, a twisted smile curving her lips like she was on the verge of victory. My knees weakened. Was this how it would end? The same son I once cradled, the boy I nursed through pneumonia, the young man I helped buy his first motorcycle, now ready to smash down his own mother's door? Then that deep voice came again behind me. "Let me handle it." I turned. Attorney Arthur Bernard stood there, dressed in a crisp gray suit, leather briefcase in hand. He had arrived earlier than expected. "How did you get in?" I whispered. "Through the back door, just as you asked last night," he said calmly, though there was unmistakable authority in his tone. "Open the door," he added. "It's time they see what they've just lost." My hand found the latch. I turned it slowly. The door opened. When Rodrigo and Tatiana saw Arthur standing there, eyes like steel, the hammer slipped from Rodrigo's grasp and hit the floor with a dull thud. Their faces went pale as if they'd seen a ghost, because they knew exactly who that man was and that their plan had just collapsed. But before I explain why I had to change the locks to protect myself from my own son, I need to be clear. I wasn't always this woman. 3 months ago, the Nicole they knew was just a trusting mother who believed love could fix anything. If you want to know how a 68-year-old woman went from being used and manipulated to strong enough to slam the door on her own family, listen carefully, because this story might change how you see a mother's love forever. Arthur didn't smile. He didn't need to. His presence alone made the air heavy. He stepped forward beside me, voice firm and controlled, the kind of tone that had made countless liars falter in court. "Good morning, Rodrigo. Tatiana." He paused. "I'm sorry, but you no longer have any legal right to enter this property without the owner's consent." Tatiana was the first to react, her face flushing red. "Who do you think you are? We live here. We have rights." Arthur opened his briefcase, pulled out a thick folder, and drew several documents. The rustle of paper was the only sound besides Rodrigo's ragged breathing. "I am Attorney Arthur Bernard, a notary public in the state of New York. And this," he raised the documents, "is proof that this house, located at 328 Maple Avenue, has been placed in an irrevocable trust under the name of Mrs. Nicole Sanders, widow of Ernest Sanders." Rodrigo stammered, voice cracking. "Mom, what did you do?" I met his eyes. For a fleeting moment, I saw the little boy who used to hide behind me when his father scolded him, but I also saw the man who, just 2 weeks earlier, had told his wife that I'd lived long enough. I did what I should have done 3 months ago. Rodrigo protected myself. Tatiana let out a bitter laugh. Protected yourself? We've been taking care of you, keeping you company. Without us, you'd die alone in this big house. Arthur's tone turned razor sharp. Ma'am, I'd advise you to choose your words carefully. Everything you say now can be used as evidence if my client proceeds with a lawsuit. Lawsuit? Rodrigo barked. I invested in this house. I paid to fix the roof, to install the water tank. This house is partly mine. That was the lie he'd been repeating for months. Arthur gave a faint smile. Interesting, because, according to the bank receipts Mrs. Sanders provided, the roof repairs were completed last August, paid from her personal account $8,700. The water tank was installed in October, paid by her again $5,200. Shall I continue? Rodrigo's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Tatiana changed tactics, tears, trembling voice, one hand on her chest. Nicole, Mother, we're family. How could you do this to us? Something inside me broke, but it wasn't my heart. It was the last thread of guilt tying me to them. Family? I said, voice steady. You call it family, Tatiana? The same family that sold my late husband's porcelain dinner set for $800? The same family that tricked me out of $12,000 for a fake medical surgery when it was actually a nose job? Her face drained of color. The tears kept coming, but now they were tears of panic. I was sick. Sick. At the Madison Avenue Cosmetic Clinic, right? Arthur pulled another paper. Here's the receipt. Rhinoplasty procedure, $11,500, paid January 18th, 3 days after you received money from Mrs. Sanders. Rodrigo turned to his wife, eyes blazing. Is that true? She stepped back. You knew about it. You stole from my mother, he shouted, and I saw the first crack in their perfect alliance. Arthur's voice cut through the air like ice. You have 48 hours to vacate this property. Take your personal belongings, clothing, and electronic devices, nothing else. Anything belonging to Mrs. Sanders that's removed will be treated as theft. Tatiana screamed. You can't throw us out. What about the kids, Valerie and Thomas? Where will we go? Arthur's calm finally wavered into irritation. Perhaps you should have thought about that before conspiring to place their grandmother in a cheap nursing home, so you could sell her house and buy an apartment in Manhattan. The silence was absolute. Rodrigo's eyes were bloodshot. How do you know about that? I reached into my robe pocket, pulled out a small recorder, and pressed play. Tatiana's voice rang crystal clear. Just a few more months, baby. Once we get her to sign the deed over to you, we're done. She's old, lonely, she needs us. Then we can put her in a cheap nursing home and sell this place. Easy $400,000, enough for that Manhattan apartment. Then Rodrigo's voice followed. You're right. Mom's lived long enough. We deserve this house. I stopped the recording. Rodrigo dropped to his knees on the porch. Mom, I didn't mean to. Yes, you did, I said quietly but firmly. You meant every word. Tatiana pointed at him immediately. It was his idea. He made me do it. Rodrigo shot up. What? You're the one who called my mother a burden. You wanted that. Fancy apartment. Arthur snapped his briefcase shut with a final click. I don't care about your marriage. What matters is that by Wednesday, March 17th, 6 p.m., if you're still here, we'll proceed with lawful eviction. Have a good day. He turned back into the house, and I followed. Before closing the door, I looked at Rodrigo, my only son, sitting on the same front step where he used to play as a child, tears rolling silently down his face. I felt no pain, only relief. I locked the door and slid the bolt. Arthur stood in the hallway and asked gently, "Are you all right, Mrs. Sanders?" I nodded and sank onto the old sofa where Ernest once read poetry every Sunday afternoon. Maybe you're wondering how it all began, how a mother ended up recording her own son plotting to drive her out of her home. To understand that, we need to go back 3 months earlier, the day I opened my door to my son and his family, and, unknowingly, to the nightmare that followed. It was a Tuesday morning, December 12th. I remember because I'd woken up early to visit the local farmer's market for fresh flowers to place on my husband's grave at the cemetery. As I finished arranging them, my phone rang. "Mom!" Rodrigo's voice sounded strange, low, strained. "What's wrong, sweetheart? Is everything okay?" "Mom, I need to talk to you. Can I come over? It's urgent." My chest tightened. When a son says urgent, a mother imagines the worst: an accident, an illness, maybe death. "Of course, honey. Come anytime. I'll make lunch." "No need, Mom. I just need to talk." He hung up before I could say more. Around 2 p.m., he arrived, but not alone. Tatiana was beside him, and behind them were their 2 kids, 12-year-old Valerie and 9-year-old Thomas, carrying overstuffed backpacks. "Hi, Mom," Tatiana said with a smile I mistook for genuine kindness. "Sorry to drop by unannounced. It's fine. Come in. Would you like water or coffee?" The children ran straight to the backyard, laughing. Rodrigo sank onto the couch, burying his face in his hands, the same nervous gesture he'd had since childhood. "Mom, we lost the apartment." I froze. "Lost? What do you mean?" Tatiana sat beside him, holding his hand. Back then, I thought, how sweet they're supporting each other through hardship. "Foolish woman, we ran into trouble with the bank," Rodrigo said without meeting my eyes. "We missed 3 months of mortgage payments. They repossessed the place. We have 2 weeks to move out." My heart clenched. "Oh my God, why didn't you tell me sooner? I could have helped." Tatiana jumped in, her voice syrupy sweet. "We didn't want to worry you, Mom. You've done so much for us already. We didn't want to be a burden. You could never be a burden. You're my family." Rodrigo looked up, eyes wet. "Mom, I have to ask for the biggest favor of my life. Can we stay here for a while? Just 2 or 3 months?" I looked around my 4-bedroom house. Since Ernest's passing 5 years earlier, I'd lived alone in a space far too big for one person. The thought of laughter, of children's footsteps, of warm food in the kitchen made me smile. "Of course. Stay as long as you need." Tatiana jumped up and hugged me. Her perfume was expensive, too expensive for someone who'd just lost her home. "Thank you, Mom. You have no idea how much this means to us." The kids cheered when they heard they'd be living with Grandma. Thomas ran over and hugged me. "Can I have the room with the stars on the ceiling, Grandma?" The same room Ernest had decorated for Rodrigo when he was a boy. "Of course, sweetheart." That afternoon, they started moving in box after box until the entryway was cluttered. Rodrigo had rented a small moving truck. I looked at the pile. "Do you need all this?" "You know, Mom, we're not sure how long we'll stay. Better to bring everything." At the time, it sounded reasonable. The first week went smoothly. I cooked meals, the kids did homework at the dining table, Rodrigo went job hunting, and Tatiana took care of the kids, though they were hardly little anymore. But small things began to change. Tatiana started rearranging furniture to make it roomier. Ernest's favorite armchair, where he'd read every night, was moved to the garage. "It's old, Mom. makes the place look dated. She replaced the towels with new ones, storing away the hand-embroidered linens my own mother had made. These are too old-fashioned, Mom. You should modernize. She cooked too, but the meals were strange, overly spiced dishes I'd never heard of. When I prepared traditional recipes, she sighed. So much oil, Mom. Not good for your health. 2 weeks later, I came downstairs one morning and saw the dining room curtains gone. Tatiana, where are the curtains? I took them down. The house needs more light. Curtains make it gloomy. Those curtains had taken me 3 weeks to sew by hand, embroidered with the bird patterns my mother taught me. But I liked them. They're outdated, Mom. Time for a change. Rodrigo came in and kissed his wife. Morning, Mom. Sleep well? Did you see Tatiana took down the dining curtains? Yeah. Looks brighter, right? Nicer. But I made those myself. It took so much work. He just laughed. Don't cling to small things, Mom. Tatiana's got great taste. You should trust her. I stood still in my own kitchen, feeling like a stranger in my own house. You're right, I whispered. They're just curtains. Tatiana smiled, her eyes smug. Exactly, Mom. You have to be flexible. Change is good. That night, lying in bed, I remembered what Ernest used to say. Nicole, you're too kind. One day, someone will take advantage of that. But this was my son and my grandchildren, my family. They wouldn't take advantage of me, or would they? I didn't know then that the curtains were only the beginning. Tatiana hadn't come to stay temporarily. She'd come to make the house hers. Every day, I disappeared a little more. Things truly changed in the 3rd week. Tatiana walked into my bedroom without knocking. I was folding clothes when I saw her standing in the doorway with that fake, concerned look. Mom, we need to talk about this room. My room? What about it? She walked around, running her hand across my mahogany vanity, the gold-framed mirror, and the wedding photo on the wall. This room is too cramped, too cluttered. It's not good for you to live surrounded by all this stuff. I looked around. Everything was tidy, in order, full of memories. It's not cluttered, Tatiana. It's filled with memories. That's the problem, Mom. You're living in the past. You need to let go. Her words pierced my heart. Ernest had been my husband for 42 years. How could I let go of that? I'm not saying forget him, Mom, she said. Just put some things away. Make room for the present for us. The next day, while I was at church, Tatiana reorganized the living room. When I came home, all the photos of Ernest had vanished from the mantel, replaced by scented candles and a plastic plant. Where are Ernest's photos? I put them in your closet so they wouldn't get dusty. I don't care about dust. I want to see them. Tatiana sighed like she was talking to a child. Mom, you can't turn the house into a shrine. He's at peace now, you have to move on. I opened the closet and found the box, but my favorite photo was missing, the one of Ernest carrying me through the surf on our honeymoon in California. Tatiana, the picture's gone. What picture? The one in the silver frame. Oh, that. The glass. Cracked, so I threw it out. The frame was rusted anyway. I felt my heart crack. That evening, Rodrigo came home late. I waited for him. Son, we need to talk. Mom, I'm tired. Can it wait until tomorrow? No, it can't. He dropped onto the couch with a sigh. What is it? Tatiana's been throwing away your father's things. She's changing the whole house. I feel like a stranger here. Rodrigo didn't even look up from his phone. Mom, Tatiana's just helping. The house is too old-fashioned. This is my house, and I like it that way. You've been stuck in the past. Dad's been gone 5 years. You need to move forward. Those words stabbed like knives. Move forward. Did that mean forgetting my husband? Tatiana's just modernizing things. You should be grateful she cares. He went to bed, leaving me in a room that smelled of artificial candles, a scent that didn't belong in my home. That night, I cried, but the real pain was still ahead. A week later, Tatiana came into the kitchen, glowing. "Mom, great news! I hired a professional cleaning service. They're coming tomorrow to deep clean the entire house." "But I already cleaned the house." "Yes, but you do it the old-fashioned way. It needs a proper deep cleaning." "Don't worry, I'll pay for it." The next day, 3 uniformed workers arrived with chemicals and equipment. Tatiana directed them like a commander. "Throw out the stuff in the garage, those boxes too, and that old glass cabinet." "Wait!" I ran toward them. "That cabinet belonged to my grandmother. You can't throw it away. It's falling apart, Mom. It's infested with termites." "It doesn't matter. It's an heirloom." Tatiana sighed. "Fine, keep it, but at least let them toss the junk in the garage." I didn't pay enough attention to what they were taking a terrible mistake. 2 days later, I looked for Ernest's vinyl record collection. 30 years of jazz albums, the same ones we used to play every Sunday afternoon when he'd wrap his arms around me in the kitchen and hum softly into my ear. But they were gone. "Tatiana, where are Ernest's records?" "The records? Oh, Mom, the cleaning crew threw them out. They were all scratched, unplayable. It was the right call. Don't worry now, we have Spotify. You can listen to anything." I sank to the garage floor, right where Ernest's sofa used to be, where the records had sat, where our memories lived. And I cried, harder than I had since his funeral. Tatiana appeared in the doorway. "Mom, don't be so dramatic. They're just things." But they weren't just things. They were pieces of my life, fragments of Ernest, parts of myself, and she was throwing them away, one by one. That night, I told my neighbor and longtime friend, Clara, 72 years old, and also a widow. We sat on the porch, sipping hot coffee. "Nicole," Clara said bluntly, "your daughter-in-law is erasing you. She's wiping away your history so she can rewrite it with herself in it. What makes it worse is that she's doing it under the name of family. Out of respect for your son, you're tolerating things you'd never accept from a stranger." Her words echoed in my mind all night. The next day, when I came back from the market, my living room had been repainted. The soft peach walls Ernest and I had chosen 20 years ago were now a dark gray. "Isn't it beautiful?" Tatiana asked proudly. "This color's trendy, it looks much more elegant." I chose that peach color with Ernest. We spent the whole weekend painting it. "Well, it's outdated now, Mom. Time for an upgrade." Rodrigo walked in, clapping his hands. "Wow, looks amazing, honey. So modern." Tatiana lowered her voice like a victim. "Your mom doesn't seem to like it." Rodrigo turned to me, a hint of reproach in his eyes. "Really? Mom? Tatiana's working so hard to make the house nicer, and you're just complaining?" "I never asked anyone to change a thing. I liked it the way it was, but nobody else did. It looked depressing." Depressing. That word cut straight through me, as if my whole life with Ernest could be summed up as depressing. I went upstairs and skipped dinner. That night, in the dark, I realized the worst truth of all. I no longer recognized my own home. The walls, the furniture, the smells, everything felt foreign. Every corner carried Tatiana's touch. I was just a tenant in my own house. But if you think losing my keepsakes was the worst thing Tatiana ever did, you're wrong. What came next wasn't about things, it was about something far more precious. And when I discovered it, I realized my daughter-in-law wasn't just manipulative. She was a thief. It was a Thursday afternoon, January 18th, Ernest's 73rd birthday. If he were alive, I would have placed fresh flowers beside his photo. But that picture now sat shoved into a box in my closet. I went to the kitchen to make tea, trying to calm the unease inside me. Lately, I'd been having nightmares, dreams where my house kept shrinking until I couldn't find my way out. Tatiana was at the dining table with her laptop, talking on the phone. Yes, I still have the set. Antique Chinese porcelain, 24-karat gold trim. No, it's not stolen, it's a family piece. $800 is too low, at least $1,000. I stepped closer and saw the screen. It showed photos of the porcelain dinner set Ernest had given me for our 30th wedding anniversary. He'd bought it in San Francisco during a work trip, saving for months to afford it. Each plate was hand-painted with cherry blossoms, each cup trimmed with gold. The full set had 12 large plates, 12 small ones, and 12 cups with saucers. We'd never used it, it was too precious. I kept it in the glass cabinet just to admire it. "Tatiana, what are you doing?" My voice trembled. She looked up with a calm smile. "Oh, Mom, I'm selling that Chinese dinner set." "You're selling my dinner set?" "Well, it's in your house. But no one uses it. It's just collecting dust. We need money urgently." The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. That set was Ernest's gift. "You can't sell it." "Mom, be realistic. They're just plates. Rodrigo hasn't found work yet, the kids need school supplies, and the storage rent is due soon. If you can't help us, we have to manage somehow." "And you manage by selling my belongings?" "They're not just yours. We're family, we share. In a family, what's yours is everyone's." My hands shook, my heart pounding. "Cancel that sale immediately." Tatiana sighed dramatically. "Do you know what your problem is, Mom? You're selfish. We take care of you, keep you company so you're not alone, and when we need help, you refuse. What are you going to do with those plates? Stare at them until you die." Each word cut like a blade. "It's not selfishness, they're memories, what Ernest left me." "Ernest's dead, Mom." "The dead don't need dinnerware. The living need money to eat." Just then, Rodrigo walked in carrying a bag of pastries. "What's going on?" "The neighbors can hear you two arguing from outside." "Your mom won't let me sell the dinner set," Tatiana said, pouting like a scolded child. She'd rather let her grandchildren starve than sell a few old dishes. Rodrigo looked at me, his eyes full of disappointment and exhaustion. "Mom, seriously? You're making a scene over some plates?" "They're not just plates. They're your father's gift. Dad would rather his grandkids eat than watch dishes gather dust. Sell it, honey. Mom will understand." "I won't understand. You have no right." Tatiana began to cry tears, falling perfectly without smudging her makeup. "You're right. We have no rights. We're just burdens. Rodrigo, listen to your mother. Let's pack up and leave. As long as her precious dishes are safe, that's all that matters." "Don't say that, sweetheart." Rodrigo hugged her, then turned to me. "See what you've done? You're hurting her." I was stunned. Somehow, I had become the villain. "Rodrigo, that set means everything to me. To you, maybe. To us, what matters is having food." He shouted the words. I had never heard my son yell like that. "But don't worry, Mom. We won't touch your precious dishes. We'll leave so you can live in peace with your stuff." He stormed upstairs, Tatiana following in tears. The children peeked from the hallway, frightened. "What's wrong, Dad?" "Nothing, kids. Go pack your things. Grandma doesn't want us here anymore." "I didn't say that." I cried, but no one listened. For 2 hours I heard, The sound of suitcases zipping, Valerie's quiet sobs, doors slamming. I sat in the kitchen, hands trembling on the table, wondering how it had come to this. Finally, Rodrigo came downstairs alone. "Tatiana's packing. The kids are upset. I hope you're proud of yourself. Son, I just asked you not to sell your father's gift. So what do you expect us to do? Beg on the streets? Starve?" He sat across from me, eyes wet. "I thought you were different. Turns out you're just another selfish old woman hoarding things and forgetting her family." "A selfish old woman?" Those words came from my own son. "Fine," I whispered. "Sell it. Go ahead if you need it that badly." Rodrigo froze, then softened, taking my hand. "Mom, I knew you'd understand. Thank you. I promise, when I get a job, I'll buy you another set just like it." He ran upstairs shouting, "Honey, Mom said yes. We can stay." That night, I lay in bed staring at the empty space in the dining cabinet. Tatiana had packed the set immediately, afraid I'd change my mind. That dinner set had been appraised at $4,500, I remembered clearly, because after Ernest's passing, the estate appraiser had written that number in the will documents. $4,500 for a lifetime of love and memories. Now she'd sold it for $800. The next morning, Tatiana left early. 6 hours later, she returned carrying bags of new clothes, designer jeans, expensive blouses, brand new shoes. "You sold it already?" I asked. "Yes, thank goodness. Now we can pay the storage rent." But the pile of shopping bags told a different story. "Tatiana, what's all this?" "Oh, I found some great sales, buy one, get one free." Couldn't resist. "But don't worry. I paid the rent and got the kids their school supplies. Besides, I deserve a little reward, don't you think? I've been so stressed all week." She walked off, toward her room, softly whistling a cheerful tune, while I stood frozen in my cold, gray living room, staring at the bare walls and the empty glass cabinet. In that moment, I finally understood the truth. They hadn't come to stay temporarily. They'd come to take everything. But if they thought stealing my memories and my belongings would destroy me, they were wrong. Tatiana had a much more sophisticated plan, a plan built on lies, a fake hospital, and $12,000 that I willingly handed over. When a snake recognizes its prey, it doesn't stop until it swallows it whole. 2 weeks after the dinner set incident, Tatiana started behaving strangely. She began waking up late, wandering around the house with a hand on her forehead, sighing dramatically. She skipped meals, said she didn't feel like eating, and whenever anyone asked what was wrong, she'd answer faintly, "It's nothing, I'll be fine." But the way she said it sounded more like an invitation. "Please, ask me again." Eventually, Valerie took the bait. "Mom, are you sick?" the girl asked. Tatiana put a trembling hand to her chest, eyes glistening with tears. "I didn't want to worry you kids. I'm just having a few strange symptoms, but I'm sure it's nothing." Rodrigo immediately panicked. "What symptoms? Dizziness? Nausea?" "A bit of that, and some bleeding," she said softly, as if revealing something terrible. My heart clenched. No matter what had happened, I didn't want anyone in the family to suffer, especially not from illness. "Tatiana, you have to see a doctor right away," I said. "I can't, Mom. We lost our health insurance and private doctors are too expensive." "That doesn't matter. Health comes first." She looked at me with tearful eyes, like I was her savior. "Would you really help me, Mom?" "Of course." That night, I overheard them talking in their room. Tatiana's voice whispered, "See? I told you, your mom's soft-hearted. Just scare her a little, and it works." I couldn't make out Rodrigo's reply, but I wanted to believe I had misheard. The next day, Tatiana showed me information about a clinic called St. Lucia Medical Center. It looked luxurious and expensive. "Doctor, Miller is the best oncologist in the city," she said in a trembling voice, "but each appointment costs $350. "All right, I'll pay," I said. I went with her, but when we arrived, she told me to wait in the lobby. "Mom, it's a private consultation." "I'd feel embarrassed if you came in." "That's fine, go ahead." I waited for 2 hours, flipping through old magazines in a bright marble hall filled with potted plants. When Tatiana finally walked out, her eyes were red. "What did the doctor say?" I asked anxiously. "I have to take several more tests, MRI, CT scan, special blood work, and maybe even a biopsy," she said, her voice breaking. "Oh my God, is it cancer? They're not sure yet, so we have to act fast." "Mom, I'm scared. How much will it all cost?" $12,000, she whispered, like announcing a death sentence. $12,000? "Yes, I know it's a lot. We can't afford it." "Maybe I'll just wait a few months." "No. If it's serious, you can't wait. Let's go to the bank now." Tatiana hugged me tightly, sobbing. "Thank you, Mom. You're saving my life." That afternoon, I sold 2 small plots of land Ernest had bought years ago, planning to build a little vacation home. They were worth far more, but I sold them quickly because a human life is worth more than any property. I handed Tatiana the envelope of cash, my hands trembling. "May God bless you, sweetheart. I hope everything turns out well." She cried in my arms, the tears looking heartbreakingly real. For the next 2 weeks, she left the house early, came home exhausted, telling stories about needles, machines, and worried doctors. Every day I asked, "Any results yet, dear?" "Not yet, Mom. These tests are complicated," Valerie would ask me nervously. "Grandma, is Mom going to die?" "No, sweetheart, your mom's going to be fine." But inside, I was trembling too. Then one Tuesday morning, while shopping for vegetables, my friend at the market said, "Nicole, I saw your daughter-in-law at the mall last week. She looked amazing, did something to her face, I think." I forced a smile. "You must be mistaken." "No mistake," she said. "She just came out of the cosmetic surgery clinic. My granddaughter works there as a receptionist. She got her nose done." My hands shook so badly the grocery bag nearly slipped. When I got home, Tatiana was on the sofa, watching TV, eating popcorn. Her new nose was unmistakable, higher, slimmer, perfect. "Tatiana, can I talk to you?" "Sure, Mom, what's up?" "I just ran into a neighbor at the market. She said she saw you at a cosmetic surgery clinic." Tatiana froze for a few seconds. "Oh, yes, Mom, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That you faked cancer to steal money from me?" "I didn't fake anything. I really wasn't feeling well. You used the money I gave you for treatment to get a nose job." She jumped up, voice sharp. "And what if I did? I have the right to feel confident, to be happy. It's not always about you. That was my money, and you knew I thought you were seriously ill. I am sick of feeling insecure, sick of not loving myself." She smiled and touched her new nose. "This surgery saved me just as much as any cancer treatment would have." I was speechless. "Give me my money back." She laughed coldly. "Your money? You gave it to me. Gifts aren't returned." "It wasn't a gift. It was for medical treatment." "Well, I treated myself just for something different." Just then, Rodrigo came home, still in his restaurant uniform. He'd recently gotten a job as a waiter. "What's going on? The neighbors can hear you yelling." She's accusing me of scamming her for surgery money, Tatiana said, now crying perfectly, her makeup untouched. I only did what I needed to feel better. Rodrigo, I turned to him. She lied. She made up a cancer story to get $12,000 for a nose job. I waited for him to defend me, but he just sighed. Mom, I know, she told me. I suggested she take the chance while you were willing to help. You knew? Yes. I just thought, that money would make her happier. You should be glad. Glad? You both deceived me. It wasn't lying, we just didn't tell you everything. He shrugged. You weren't using that money anyway. Now at least it did some good. Tatiana folded her arms and smirked. If I were you, I wouldn't make a big deal out of this. Unless, of course, you'd prefer we move out. It's hard living together with so much tension. It was a veiled threat and terrifyingly effective. The thought of being alone again, in that silent, empty house, scared me more than losing money. Fine, I said quietly. Let's forget it. That's right, Mom. Rodrigo patted my shoulder. Everything will be fine tomorrow. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, feeling pieces of myself fall away. The dinner set, the memories, the money, my dignity. I wondered what would be left and how long it would take before I completely disappeared. But I didn't know they weren't done yet. To them, $12,000 and my house weren't enough. They wanted everything, and I was about to find out just how far they'd go to get it. One night, I went downstairs for a glass of water. In the dark, I heard a conversation that changed my life. Moonlight shone through the window, lighting the old wooden staircase where I stood, my heart pounding. From the backyard came whispers, Rodrigo and Tatiana's voices. Instinct told me not to turn on the lights or make a sound. I pressed myself against the doorframe leading to the yard, hidden in shadow. What if it doesn't work? Rodrigo asked, his voice anxious. It will, Tatiana replied, her tone cold and calculating, none of the fake sweetness she used with me. Just a few more months and everything will fall into place. A few more months for what? To make her depend on us, to make her believe she's weak, old, and needs care. Once she starts fearing loneliness and illness, we'll have our reason to act. I heard the click of a lighter and smelled cigarette smoke. Tatiana still smoked in secret, thinking I didn't know. In the next 3 months, we'll convince her to sign the house over to you for her safety. We'll say that if she falls or something happens, there could be legal issues. We'll make it sound responsible. My heart pounded so loud I feared they'd hear it. What if she gets suspicious? Rodrigo asked. She won't. She's lonely, she only has us. And besides. Tatiana gave a low, chilling laugh. She's already used to us controlling her. We've thrown out her stuff, changed her house, taken her money, and she did nothing. She's weak, and the weak always lose. My legs trembled so badly, I had to hold the wall to stay upright. And after that? Rodrigo asked, voice shaking slightly. After she signs, Tatiana exhaled, we'll move her into a cheap nursing home. There are a few outside the city, only $400 a month. Dirt cheap for what this house is worth. A nursing home, but she's my mother, Rodrigo murmured. And because she's your mother, we won't leave her on the street. She'll have a place, a nurse, food. She just doesn't need a big house anymore. Her voice turned sharper. This house is worth at least $400,000. Do you realize what we could do with that money? Silence. Then Rodrigo said, we could buy that 3-bedroom apartment near the park, the one you like. Exactly. And we'd still have money left to invest, open a business, whatever we want. Your mom doesn't need all this space. We do. We have kids, a future. She only has the past. And if she refuses to sign? Tatiana laughed, a cold laugh that froze my blood. She'll sign. By May, she'll be tired, drained, scared enough to sign anything just to stay with us. Trust me, I know women like her. You just have to break them slowly. Once they stop resisting, they belong to you. You're right, Rodrigo said, his voice now confident. Mom's lived long enough. We deserve this house. Those words, Mom's lived long enough. We deserve this house from the only child I ever had, the boy I once rocked to sleep, the teenager I stayed up late helping with homework, the man I trusted more than anyone, my son, plotting to steal my home and lock me in a cheap nursing home. Something inside me shattered not my heart, but my final belief that my family still loved me. Let's go to bed, Tatiana said. Tomorrow I have to keep playing the perfect daughter-in-law. It's exhausting pretending to like her. They laughed and walked toward the back door. I crept upstairs, heart pounding, slipping into my room just before they came inside. I lay down, eyes open. Sleep never came. That night, the weak Nicole died in the dark, and a new one was born, the woman who understood that motherly love can't save you, that kindness can become a weapon against you, and that even your own child can betray you in the cruelest way. I sat up, hands trembling but mind clear. On the bedside table was Ernest's photo. "What should I do, my love?" I whispered. "If you were here, what would you do?" And then I remembered something. A week before Ernest died, he had told me in the hospital, when he knew he wouldn't recover, "Nicole, when I'm gone, there will be people who try to use you, your kindness, your loneliness. Promise me one thing. Don't let yourself become a victim. Fight back, even if it's against your own blood." Back then, I didn't understand. I thought he was delirious from painkillers. But now I knew Ernest had seen it coming. He knew our son better than I ever did. I opened the wardrobe and pulled out the boxes Tatiana had shoved to the back, revealing a small safe. I entered the code only I knew. Inside were the house deed, my will, and a business card. Dr. Arthur Bernard, attorney-at-law Ernest's closest friend, the man who had helped us for over 30 years. I gripped the card tightly. Even though it was past 3 a.m., I knew exactly what I had to do. I would not become a victim. I would not die forgotten in a nursing home while my son and his wife enjoyed my house. I would fight not with tears, not with anger, but with a plan. I lay back down, strangely calm. They didn't know it yet, but they were about to find out. Because while Rodrigo and Tatiana slept peacefully, thinking their plan was perfect, I was awake and changing. The weak woman they had underestimated was gone, replaced by someone new. Someone who would make them realize that underestimating a 68-year-old woman was the biggest mistake of their lives. The next morning, I woke up as usual. I put on my floral robe, made coffee, and toasted some bread. Tatiana walked into the kitchen, yawning, dressed in the expensive silk pajamas she'd bought with my money. "Good morning, Mom. Did you sleep well?" I looked at her closely. I saw her true nature, a predator who had studied every habit and every weakness of mine to turn them into weapons. But she didn't know that I could learn too. "I slept very well, dear. How about you?" "Great." She poured herself a cup of coffee and said, "Mom, I think you should start looking into some senior care facilities. Not that you have to move right away, but just to have options when the time comes." That sentence planted the seed of their plan. 2 days earlier I might have trembled, maybe even cried. but the weak woman from last night was gone. You're right, Tatiana. At my age, I should prepare. Her face lit up with a victorious smile. It's wonderful that you're being so reasonable. Many older people are so stubborn. I'm not like them, I said softly, smiling. I just like to be practical. When she went upstairs to shower, I took my phone and dialed the number on the business card. Bernard Law Office, how may I help you? This is Nicole Sanders, Ernest's widow. I need an urgent appointment at your office, not my home, as soon as possible. Please hold, ma'am. Would 4 p.m. today work for you? Perfect. I'll be there. As soon as I hung up, Rodrigo walked into the kitchen. Morning, Mom. Who were you talking to? The doctor's office, I lied smoothly, surprising even myself. They reminded me about a routine checkup. That's good. Do you want me to come with you? No need, dear. I can go alone. At 3 p.m., I took a cab downtown to Mr. Bernard's office. His secretary led me in right away. He stood to greet me, white hair, wise eyes. Nicole, it's been so long. Ernest would be glad to know you finally came to see me. He gestured for me to sit. Before he passed, Ernest asked me to help you if anything ever happened. It's been 5 years since then, so tell me everything. And I did. Every detail, the changed house, the sold dinnerware, the $12,000 scam, and finally, the conversation I overheard in the yard. Mr. Bernard listened carefully, took notes, then set his pen down. What your son and daughter-in-law are doing has a clear legal name: major asset misappropriation. It's a criminal offense. But we'll need solid evidence. How can I get it? You need to record a conversation in which they admit their plan and document everything, every detail. I handed him copies of the bank transactions for the $12,000 and photos of the dinnerware before it was sold. He nodded approvingly. Good, that's a start. Now let's talk about your house. He opened a file and began explaining my legal options: a protective trust, a living will, and deed clauses. I recommend creating an irrevocable trust, he said. The house remains in your name, legally protected. You can live there as long as you wish and designate who inherits it, but they only receive it if they meet the conditions you set. I looked up. What kind of conditions? For example, they only inherit after reaching a certain age, or they can never sell the property. Or if you're placed in a nursing home without your force consent, the trust automatically voids and the asset transfers to someone else. A spark of hope rose inside me. And my son? What can he do? Nothing. Once the trust is established, not even a court can alter it without your signature. How long will it take? If you agree today, I can complete everything within a week. I just need the original deed. I have it in my safe. Perfect. One more thing. He leaned closer. You must act normal. Don't let them suspect anything. Continue being the gentle mother they know. If they sense a plan, they'll move early and that will complicate everything. I nodded. I can do that. I know you can. Ernest once told me you were stronger than anyone realized, you just never needed to prove it. I left the office with a folder in my hands and a feeling I thought I'd lost. Hope. But with it came a mission. I needed that recording. That night, I behaved completely normally. I smiled, served dinner, asked about their day. Tatiana looked at me with satisfaction. You seem happy, Mom. Something good happen? I just had my checkup. The doctor said I'm in great health, could live for many more years. I noticed her smile falter slightly. That's wonderful, Mom. Really wonderful. But I knew many more years didn't fit into their plans. The next day, I visited my neighbor, Clara. Clara, I need your help. Anything, Nicole. I need to learn how to use a mini voice recorder, one that can be hidden. She didn't ask why. After 30 years of friendship, she knew if I asked, it was serious. She opened a drawer and took out a tiny device, no bigger than a thumb. My grandson bought it for me last year. I've never used it. It's yours now. She showed me how to switch it on and save files. I tested it. The sound was astonishingly clear. Thank you, Clara. Are you in trouble? I'm finding a way out of it. The following week, I went to the law office 3 times, bringing documents, signing papers, finalizing the trust. Every night, I placed the recorder somewhere new: living room, kitchen, backyard. I captured everything, them discussing how to speed up the plan, how to make the old lady sign, how living here much longer is unbearable. Tatiana's voice was crystal clear. They repeated the exact same plan I had overheard in the yard, making me depend on them, putting me in a cheap nursing home, and selling my house for $400,000 to buy that 3-bedroom apartment near the park. This time, every word was recorded, including Rodrigo saying he deserved my house. Word for word, exactly what I'd heard before, but now I had proof: the date, the time, the undeniable voices. The next morning, I brought the recording to Mr. Bernard. He listened twice, then nodded. More than enough. The next step is to wait. The trust is registered, your home is legally protected. But we'll need the perfect moment, one where they reveal themselves in front of witnesses. How do I make them show their true colors? Set the bait. When they're most confident, let them talk, and I'll be there. I thought for 2 days. Then the plan came to me. At dinner on March 14th, I said casually, "Rodrigo, Tatiana, I think you two were right. At my age, maintaining this house is exhausting. Maybe I should consider moving into a nursing home so you two can stay here." Tatiana's eyes lit up like Christmas lights. "Are you serious, Mom?" "Yes. I've even looked at a few beautiful places. There's one up north, very comfortable." Rodrigo grabbed my hand. "That's so wise, Mom. I'm proud of you. We'll just need to handle the paperwork. Should we call Mr. Bernard to help?" Tatiana nearly clapped her hands. "Perfect. Call him soon. I already spoke to him. He'll be here Monday morning, March 15th, at 10 o'clock. "Perfect," Rodrigo said. That night, I heard them pop open champagne, laughing and celebrating their supposed victory. As for me, I lay in the dark, smiling. They thought they had won. The next morning, March 15th, was bright and sunny. They woke up early, excited as children. Tatiana applied her makeup carefully and put on a dark red dress. Rodrigo wore a gray suit for the important occasion. What they didn't know was that the night before, I'd called a locksmith and replaced every lock. And Mr. Bernard wasn't coming to transfer my house to them. He was coming to show them they had picked the wrong target. Late Sunday night, I had whispered into the phone, "Can you come right now?" "It's pretty late, ma'am," the locksmith said. "I'll pay triple. I just need it done quietly." Close to midnight, a man in his 40s arrived with his toolbox. I told him softly, "Replace every lock, front door, back door, garage, everything. Your family doesn't have keys? That's exactly why I need new ones." He nodded in understanding. Not the first time I've seen this. He worked for 2 hours. Every sound made me hold my breath. But Rodrigo and Tatiana slept soundly. Around 2 a.m., he handed me 4 new sets of keys. "All done, ma'am. These are the only ones. The old ones won't work anymore." I paid him $450 in cash money I'd withdrawn earlier that week. "Thank you. And if anyone asks, you were never here. he smiled. Got it. Good luck, ma'am. When he left, I sat in the dark living room. My house finally secured with keys only I possessed. A small act, but my first declaration. I was taking my power back. I called Mr. Bernard. It's done. Excellent. I'll arrive at 6:30 a.m. before they're awake. Leave the back door open, as we discussed. Don't worry. Tomorrow you'll take your life back. That night, I slept only 3 hours, not from fear, but anticipation. Monday morning, Rodrigo and Tatiana were up early. Tatiana put on her dress and heels, did her hair perfectly. Rodrigo adjusted his tie in the mirror, his face glowing with excitement. She hugged me sweetly. Mom, I'm so happy. This is the right decision for everyone. Yes, dear, for everyone. Rodrigo took my hand. Have you eaten, Mom? Want me to make you something? No, I already did. Just a bit nervous. That's normal. You'll feel relieved soon. All lies, and I finally saw every one of them clearly. I trust you both, I said gently. At 9 a.m., Tatiana started pacing. What time did he say he'd be here, Mom? 10 o'clock. That's too long, she muttered, sitting and standing again, checking her phone repeatedly. At 9:30, the doorbell rang. Tatiana jumped up. He's here. Wonderful. I'll get it. But when she turned the handle, the door wouldn't budge. Mom, it's locked. Oh, I must have latched it last night. Let me open it. I walked slowly to the door and peered through the peephole. It wasn't Mr. Bernard, just Sheila, the neighbor who sold baked goods. It's not him, just Sheila. I don't need anything, thank you. Tatiana froze, unaware that the game she thought she had won was already turning against her. She looked at me, confused, but said nothing. At exactly 10 o'clock, the doorbell rang again. This time, it was Mr. Bernard, and he wasn't alone. A young man with a leather briefcase stood beside him. Rodrigo and Tatiana practically ran to the door. Mom, open up, they're here. But I stayed still. Mom, what are you doing? Open the door. Rodrigo yanked the handle, but it didn't move. He tried his key, then turned to me. Mom, my key doesn't work. Oh, that's right, I said calmly. I forgot to mention I changed all the locks last night. The room went silent. What? Tatiana's eyes widened. Why would you do that? For safety reasons. At my age, you never know what might happen. The doorbell rang again, this time faster, more impatiently. Mother-in-law, open that damn door, Tatiana screamed. Don't speak to me like that, Tatiana. Mom, please open it. Rodrigo tried to stay calm. The lawyer's waiting. We have to sign the papers. Of course I remember, I said, still not moving. I let them ring, call, and knock for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Tatiana grew furious. Are you insane? What are you doing? Rodrigo made a phone call, probably apologizing to the lawyer for the delay. 15 minutes later, the bell finally went silent. Tatiana's face was red with rage. We missed the appointment. He's gone. Are you happy now? Calm down, Tatiana, I said, glancing at the clock. Everything is going exactly as planned. What plan? Rodrigo asked, confused. Right then, I heard the sound of the back door opening. Familiar footsteps echoed leather shoes on the wooden floor. Rodrigo and Tatiana turned around, and standing in the doorway was Mr. Bernard, dressed neatly in a suit, holding his leather briefcase. Good morning, everyone. Sorry to keep you waiting. The look on Rodrigo and Tatiana's faces, shock, fear, confusion, was like a living painting. How did you get in? Tatiana stammered. The back door, Mr. Bernard said calmly. "Mrs. Nicole let me in a few minutes ago." "Mom, what's going on?" Rodrigo's voice trembled. "Sit down," I said, my voice low but strangely steady. "It's time to talk. Really talk. No more lies." "Lies? What lies?" Tatiana forced a laugh. "We never lied to you. Didn't you?" I pulled a small voice recorder from my coat pocket and placed it on the table. "Then explain this." I pressed play. Tatiana's voice filled the room. "Just a few more months, honey. We'll convince her to sign the house over. She's old, lonely, and needs us. Then we'll move her into a cheap nursing home and sell the house. It's worth at least $400,000. Tatiana went pale as paper. Then came Rodrigo's voice. "You're right. Mom's lived long enough. We deserve this house." Rodrigo sank into the chair, his hands trembling. "Mom, explain it," I said, my voice firm. "Explain why you think I deserve to be thrown into some rundown nursing home while you live in the house your father and I built." Tatiana recovered quickly. She was a survivor. But this time there was no escape. "This recording is illegal. You can't use it." Mr. Bernard spoke up. "Miss, the law here allows recording inside a private home when the homeowner suspects fraud. This recording is completely admissible in court." "There was no fraud," Tatiana shouted. "We took care of her. Without us, this house would be empty." "Care?" I laughed bitterly. "Selling my dinner set without asking is care? Throwing away my husband's record collection is care? Faking a disease to steal $12,000 is care?" Rodrigo buried his face in his hands. "Mom, please." "Please what, Rodrigo? Forget that you betrayed me? My own son, the boy I raised, planned to toss me aside like garbage?" Tears streamed down my face, but they weren't from weakness, they were release. "For 3 months you made me think I was crazy, selfish, a bitter old woman stuck in the past. You made me doubt my own mind." Tatiana stepped forward. "Mom, we can talk about this." "Don't touch me." I stepped back. "And don't call me Mom again. Family doesn't betray, doesn't deceive, doesn't plan to lock their own mother in a nursing home just to steal her house." Mr. Bernard opened his briefcase. "It's time to present the official documents." He handed Rodrigo a thick folder. His hands trembled as he took it. Tatiana leaned in to read, and I watched the exact moment they realized their plan had collapsed. "This can't be real!" Tatiana screamed. "It's entirely real," Mr. Bernard replied calmly. "Certified and legally registered on March 10th. Irrevocable." "Irrevocable?" Tatiana looked at me. "That's right," I said. "It means this house is placed in a trust under my control. Neither of you can touch it." Rodrigo let the folder fall to the floor, his face ghostly white. "Mom, what did you do?" "I did what I should have done long ago, protect myself from you." Mr. Bernard read clearly. "The property at 328 Maple Avenue is held in the Nicole Sanders Living Trust. Mrs. Sanders retains lifetime residence rights. The beneficiaries are her grandchildren, Valerie and Thomas, who will inherit only upon turning 25 and are prohibited from selling the property." "That's not fair," Tatiana shouted. "Rodrigo is your son. He should inherit. He lost that right the moment he conspired to steal from me. We weren't stealing. We just wanted you to have proper care." I pulled a printed page from my pocket. "By proper care, you mean Golden Sunset Nursing Home? $400 a month, 1-star reviews for rotten food and elder abuse?" Tatiana's mouth opened, but no words came out. "I did my research, Tatiana. I know exactly where you plan to lock me up while living the high life." Rodrigo's voice was faint. "Mom, please, we're family. I was just scared. I didn't know what to do." Tatiana pushed me. "Oh, now you're blaming your wife?" I cut him off. "How manly of you." Tatiana spun toward him. "No, it was his idea. He said we deserved the house. He's the one who looked up the nursing home." I looked at them both, calm and cold. "It doesn't matter who thought of it. You both did. You both lied. You both were greedy." Mr. Bernard pulled another file. "Now, about the repayment. Miss Tatiana, you obtained $12,000 under false pretenses. That's criminal fraud. Mrs. Sanders can press charges, or you can repay the full amount within 30 days. "I don't have the money," Tatiana screamed. "Then we'll proceed with legal action," he said. "Fraud carries a sentence of 6 months to 5 years in prison." Tatiana turned to Rodrigo. "Say something. She's your mother." But Rodrigo stood frozen, his face gray. "And regarding the unauthorized sale," the lawyer continued, "a porcelain dinner set valued at approximately $4,500 was sold without the owner's consent. That constitutes theft of property." "She let me sell it," Tatiana yelled. "I have dated photos proving it was hers for 15 years, he replied. Tatiana began pacing like a trapped animal. "This is a nightmare." "No," I said clearly. "This is justice." Mr. Bernard closed his briefcase. "Mrs. Sanders, would you like to press charges or allow them to repay voluntarily?" I looked at Rodrigo, the son I had once cradled, loved, trusted. Now I saw only a coward and a thief. "I want them out of this house." "Mom." Rodrigo stood up. "Please don't do this. You have 48 hours to move out. Take your clothes, personal items, phones, nothing else. Everything here stays." "What about the kids?" Tatiana shouted. "Where will we go?" "You should have thought of that before you tried to destroy me," I said, my voice trembling but firm. "You have family, friends, a car, jobs. Figure it out just like you figured out how to deceive me for 3 months. Mother-in-law, please. Don't call me that. You're not my daughter-in-law anymore." I turned to Rodrigo. "And you." He was no longer my son. Rodrigo dropped to his knees before me, hands clasped. "Mom, please forgive me. I was wrong. I was desperate." Tatiana pressured me. I wasn't thinking straight. "But I love you. You're my mother, always. If you loved me, Rodrigo, you wouldn't have planned to throw me into a nursing home like trash. If you loved me, you would have protected your father's memory instead of letting her erase everything we built. I can change. We can change. Please, give me another chance." "I already did, Rodrigo, for 3 months. Every time you threw something away, every lie, every time you made me feel guilty for being alive, that was a chance. And you wasted them all." I turned to Mr. Bernard. "They have 30 days to return the $12,000. If not, I'll press charges." Tatiana screamed in anger and ran upstairs. Rodrigo stayed kneeling, sobbing like a child. "Get up, Rodrigo. You're not a child anymore. You're 43 years old. It's time to act like a—" He rose, eyes red. "What about Valerie and Thomas? You'll never see them again?" That question pierced my heart. I love them, and that's why the house is in trust for them. But I won't let you use them as emotional hostages. Mr. Bernard placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "Mrs. Sanders, do you need a break?" "No, I'm fine." I took a deep breath. "Rodrigo, you have until 6 p.m. on March 17th to leave this house. If not, Mr. Bernard will begin formal eviction proceedings. And you don't want it to come to that. Rodrigo nodded weakly, then dragged himself upstairs. The room fell into heavy silence. Are you sure about this? The lawyer asked. Do you think Ernest would be proud of me? He gave a sad smile. Ernest once told me, if I'm gone, Nicole will need time to find her strength. But once she does, nothing will stop her. He was right. Tears rolled down my cheeks, but they were tears of freedom. Thank you for helping me. My honor, Mrs. Sanders. That night I heard noises upstairs, boxes, suitcases, crying, arguments. For the first time in months, I felt peace. Painful peace, but real. For the first time in 3 months, I had control of my life again. I looked at Ernest's photo on the shelf. I did it, love. I fought, just like you told me to. I could almost feel his invisible arms around me, whispering, I'm proud of you, Nicole. Always proud. The next morning, my neighbor Mary stopped by with coffee and toast. How are you holding up? Like someone who just survived a war. You didn't just survive, you won, she said, squeezing my hand. But victory always tastes bitter, because you still love your son. Sometimes love means letting go, setting boundaries, saying, I love you, but I won't let you destroy me. She was right. The following day, Valerie came downstairs, her eyes red and puffy. Grandma, can I talk to you? Of course, sweetheart. Sit down. She stayed quiet for a while before whispering, I know everything. I heard them talking. I saw how they treated your things, but I didn't say anything. I was scared they'd get mad at me. I hugged her tightly. It's okay, Valerie. You're just a child. It's not your fault when adults do wrong. But I still feel awful. I understand. But remember this. I lifted her chin. This house will be yours and your brother's someday. When that happens, remember dignity is worth more than property, and real love never destroys. She hugged me so tightly I could hardly breathe. I love you so much, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. Always. On Wednesday afternoon, March 17th, a moving truck pulled up. Rodrigo and Tatiana left in silence. The children looked sad and confused. Thomas hugged me. Will we ever see you again? Of course you will. Whenever you want to visit, just call me. This will always be your home. Around 6 p.m., Rodrigo approached, holding an envelope. 3,000. It's all I could gather. I'll pay the rest little by little. You have 30 days to repay the full 12,000, not a day more. I know, he said, looking down. Mom, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I really am sorry. I know, Rodrigo, but regret doesn't erase what you've destroyed. It doesn't bring back the memories you threw away or wash away the words you said. Will you ever forgive me? I don't know. Maybe someday. But for now, I need you gone. I need time to heal, and I can't do that while you're still here. He nodded, climbed into the truck. Tatiana didn't even look at me. They drove off. I stood in the doorway, watching the truck disappear around the corner. Mary came up beside me. Are you okay? Not yet, but I will be. That night, I ate dinner alone, but I wasn't sad. I made beef stew using my mother's recipe, played Ernest's jazz records, the ones I had re-downloaded after Tatiana threw away the old ones. I looked around the house. The walls were still gray, but I could repaint them. The curtains were torn, but I could sew new ones. The old memories were gone, but I could create new ones. Because strong women don't fall, we rise again. 3 months later, In June, the violets in the front yard bloomed the color Ernest loved most. I painted the walls peach, sewed floral curtains, hung my husband's photos everywhere, and I started living again. I joined an art class, made friends with women my age who had also survived betrayal. We laughed, shared stories, and reminded each other that we were still ourselves, not just mothers or wives, but independent women. One afternoon, the phone rang. Unknown number. Grandma. Valerie, sweetheart. How are you? Not great. My parents got divorced. Mom left. You were right, Grandma. She never loved anyone, only money and that house. Her voice broke. Now Thomas and I live with Dad in a tiny apartment, but I'm not calling to ask to come back. I just wanted to hear your voice and tell you you were right. You can visit me anytime. This will always be your home. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. I stared at the phone for a long time. Tatiana was gone, off to find another victim. Rodrigo was living with the consequences of his own choices. I didn't feel joy or guilt, only peace. When I look back on everything that happened, I realize that sometimes love within a family isn't enough to hold it together, because love without respect eventually becomes a chain. I once thought I couldn't survive losing my son, but maybe sometimes, to find yourself again, you have to let go of those who refuse to understand you. Life has taught me that not every wound needs to be healed right away. Some remain to remind us that we deserve to be loved in a kinder way. And despite all the pain, I still believe true love never leaves. It just changes form, becoming strength, peace, and the right to live with dignity. And what about you? If you were in my place, would you have the courage to set boundaries with those who hurt you? Share your thoughts below sometimes. Your story might be the strength someone else needs. And stay with me here, so we can continue listening to the journeys of those who chose to stand up, to love again, and to find peace on their own terms.